Hola, hello. This is the part 2 of a video about the memory download that I had originally recorded December 8th. This is a follow-up of the re-record, part 2. I'm circling back now to what the original subject was after I had trailed off about the difficulties, the struggles of being a single mother. So, before I trailed off, where I would have left off was talking about how I still do get memory downloads, but not nearly like I was in late spring and in summer of last year, 2024. And not just from my childhood, our childhood, but even past life memories. I don't expect anyone to believe in such, but I do very, very much so, as I've had several experiences that confirm such for me. Experiences that just you can't simply deny. And maybe I could try to explain that in another video. But for right now, I think I'm going to pass and try to explain that because that's a whole other subject all on itself. In these dreams in which GB and I would meet, we would explore where he lived and where I lived, outside in the night mostly, but sometimes there'd be daylight, and we'd run wild and free, filled with excitement and adventure, talking about all sorts of things, playing, and for some reason, and I'm not sure why, but for some reason the dreams either happened more frequently while at my grandparents' home on my father's side, or just easier to remember, although I do remember some from being at my maternal grandparents' house, as well as my house. And sometimes I saw us as adults in the dreams, and I predicted us, how we'd look as adults, and I mean everything down to the same exact tattoos, and he has very unique tattoos, not one that no one else has, or at the very least, no one has one of said tattoos, and definitely not all in the same places. I don't expect most people to believe any of this, as it's far from being a normal experience, and so I know to most people I probably just sound crazy, and I'm honestly confused as to why I have felt called to be this open, to share this much, but I am not going to share everything, because I do believe that some things are meant to be private, even if it's solely for the sake of sacredness. I feel like one of those characters in the movie that is trying to tell others something crazy that just happened, but no one believes them, naturally, because it sounds too crazy, until of course they end up seeing it for themselves, and then they are racing with what little time they have. And it's funny and ironic to me because I had always cringed at characters that would say some off-the-wall sounding stuff to the other characters, because I knew that it would just complicate things, and felt they should say something else that they'd believe in order to get the necessary actions taken. And I've always felt that be the more realistic approach for someone to take in said instances, and yet here I am being like one of those characters in said movies, and I'm sure that in real life most people would indeed not tell others something such as what I am in this video, but I guess I'm good at being the weird person that is maybe a little too honest at times. And I had told him about it. I brought it up to GB back in June of 2024. About how I had seen him as an adult in my dreams when I was 8 years old and he was 6 years old. And I couldn't believe I had sent that to him. And I remember just sitting there staring at what I had just told him. I could have deleted it, but I didn't for some reason. And I guess, despite how crazy it all may sound, when it's something so real, when it's such an incredible realization, it's hard to hold it in, even if at the expense of being written off as delusional. Which hurts, but at the same time, I know I'm not. While I may have my share of crazy, as every single human being does, I am very grounded and self-aware. And that isn't to brag by any means, but rather just a matter of fact. It wasn't something I expected myself to tell them, but for whatever reason I did, and I especially didn't think I would ever upload a video talking about it, and yet, here I am. But one reason I think I felt comfortable enough telling GB was because he seemed to be into spiritual and mystical aspects. And so I felt he'd have an open mind. And it's all so real and incredible, despite how unreal it surely may sound. And I guess a part of me assumed he'd remember it too. And you know, maybe he did. Maybe he does remember it. But perhaps it is too intense of a feeling for him to respond to it, to talk about, open up about, which in the type of connection that him and I have, it is very commonplace for one of the two to feel overwhelmed by the connection and run, so to speak. He did talk to me for a little while past my sharing such with him. But he started talking with me a lot less, and of course it hurt. It concerned me, and I could feel what was going to happen, and it gave me such an intense anxiety, but I accepted it. He had hearted all my messages, but he didn't want to talk about it, and when I had asked him to get back to me about it all on his own time, at his own pace, no matter how slowly, and I meant it, truly. I was like, even if it takes you months, I just wanted him to be able to get back to me about it all. I wanted to know his insight, what he thought and felt about everything I had to say. Because mental stimulation and spiritual stimulation is so very important to me. I cannot do baseline relations, no matter how much I'm drawn to somebody, no how much I love or care or am attracted to someone. I cannot do surface level. It does not satisfy me. And so many people just want to keep it at surface level, idle things. I can't live my life just talking about movies and bands and how cool I look. I need more than that. I require depth. I require soulfulness. And if I can't have that with someone, then I'd rather spend the rest of my life alone. I'd rather have him as a ghost than have him be fake around me. But, he ended up snapping. He did call me names, but he was a bit rude when I had asked. And he asked me why I write so much. It hurts, and it was disappointing. But in these type of connections, I knew exactly what it was. He was pushing me away. Something I said was too much for him to handle in the there and the now of that point in time. And he, it was hard to block me because, you know, I'm such a big, scary wolf with my questions. And I said my piece to him and let him go, even though it hurt like hell, and I even told him that it did. But I knew it was the right thing to do. Out of self-respect and self-love, and even out of love and respect for GB. He had liked when I told him about a vision I had, about a man shooting... What? My phone's crazy as fuck. It put shooting. It's supposed to say showing. Wow, that's horrible. But anyways, as I was trying to say, he liked when I had told him about a vision I had about a man showing my son and I around a beautiful place filled with trees, with dapple sunlight, birds singing, fountains and waterfalls, a man with tatted arms holding my hand. He had asked me if the man was him, and I wanted to say yes, but it wouldn't have been right of me, because I wasn't sure at that point in time. I had not seen the man's face as it was obscured by rays from the sun. It seemed to hurt his feelings that I was unsure, and maybe he misunderstood what I meant by vision, as I didn't mean daydream, but a literal vision. The mind's eye playing a movie before me that isn't something I consciously chose, but that is a strong foretelling of things to come. And it's not like in the movies, of course, but psychic capabilities are very real. I know I might get mocked for saying such, but I honestly don't give a fuck. It's a heightened intuition and can come through in various ways. And in all honesty, I forget what the name is for the type of experience I was having, but at the point in time, his face I couldn't see, and I would have felt wrong to say yes just because I wanted it to be him, because I refused to be disingenuous. Naturally, it did reoccur after he ran, and this time revealing the man's face. Only for the face to indeed be his beautiful, adorable face that I wish I could squish and kiss. But I had experienced visions and other forms of psychic capabilities since I was a small child, and then I had lost touch with it for a period of my life, only for it to strengthen more than ever before after meeting GB in the 3D. And I used to see it as a blessing and a curse, but now I have learned to fully see it for the blessing that it is, and to never ever again question it / ignore it, as one day in November it was trying to protect me from something traumatic, and my dumb ass ignored it. But through said experience, I still alchemized through the help of my guides, and for that I am ever grateful. So while it hurt that he didn't confirm him and I meeting in our dreams, or him so much as even wanting to talk about it at all, on the other hand, he didn't deny or refute. And sometimes silence speaks louder than words. It's like a song that I know. She sings, "Give me the words that tell me everything. Give me the words that tell me nothing." And about why does love and silence become reprimand? And I can't think of the name of the song right now, even though I've known it for years. I can't even think of the artist's name. It's a wonderful song. Anyways, I had long forgiven him for how he reacted. I understand why he did. I know hurting me was never his intention, and I know that with what type of connection him and I have, that it was bound to happen, and the way things happened only further confirms such. Despite the pain of him doing what he did, when it clicked when it really, truly, fully clicked, when it fully dawned on me who he is in my life, what type of connection we have. I mean, despite the pain, I felt a moment of euphoria and joy. It was joyous euphoria that I felt. I felt like someone in a movie singing and dancing because I had a wonderful epiphany. But and yes, okay. And not only did what he do help confirm things, but so has me improving myself, my life, and feeling motivated and inspired through said separation. Or as someone taught me, and that I actually prefer, this preparation phase. And through him in his own essence, and his ways of being different from me. The ways that he is the yin to my yang, and the yang to my yin, and that while where I'm strong, he's weak. Where I'm weak, he's strong. His strengths I do admire. I do very much admire his strengths. And that inspires me. And it only confirms it even more so in a way in which Pissant, who I foolishly had confused for being the connection that is actually what I have with GB. Though I forgive myself for that mistake. But he hadn't brought out the worst in me. And I was going further from the truth of myself when I was involved with Pissant. And I really don't have bitterness towards him anymore. But I don't really know what else to call him without saying his name. Granted, he does have one of the most common names, at least in the Western world, or the US anyway. So I guess I probably could call him by his first name. Or maybe I could just call him Tony, as he doesn't like Tony. But it's not as mean as Pissant. But, the ironic thing about this type of connection is that it greatly gets mocked by most people. But several movies and songs, especially, portray said type of connection. And while it is incredibly beautiful and profound when I witness said themes of such, within said media, it does suck how very few people can relate, let alone even try to understand it. Of course, I do realize that movies are a fantasy, and even songs can be. Both art forms still have truths in them, especially songs, and even in films. While more prone to be fantasy, it is also in films in which we've come to witness things we'd never think true, to in fact be based in reality, in fact hinting at its viewers, largely in an esoteric manner. We are built on symbolism, and there's something beautiful about that. It's very poetic. Yeah, anyhow, that is all I have to say about that for now. Possibly at all. I don't know if there's going to be further thoughts on that at another point where I make another video, but that was the wrap up of the first video, part 1. I hope everyone's having a wonderful evening, night, morning, whatever time it is where you are.